Vénganse, vénganse. Vamos a jugar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a cantar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a llorar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a fumar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a jugar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a cantar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a fumar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a tomar hoy, hoy, hoy.
Welcome, friends, to another episode on this frequency. We are your hosts. I'm Natalie.
I'm Rickie Lee.
And behind the board, we have Raymond Andrew.
Yes, we do. And today's episode is surprisingly brought to you by Tablas Wine. We have a special indirect guest here. My dad is here from Ensenada, and he brought us this delicious wine that we have not cracked open. But thank you, Tablas.
Yes, it's honestly one of my favorite. And I'm not saying it because
You're
my father-in-law is here. I'm biased, but it really is good. So we have a special guest today, Luis Mota. He is not only Rickie's cousin, but he also wrote the song that you now hear in our introduction. Welcome, Luis.
Hi, Luis.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
So, Luis, we wanted to start with asking you a couple of questions, all right? So, answer as quickly or as slowly and thoroughly as you want, okay?
So don't think about it. Don't think about it. Just go.
Go with your gut on these, okay? So your first question. When was the first time you fell in love?
Oh,
I feel like that's a
man,
trick
I'm going to get in
question.
trouble here.
Yes.
Why are you guys asking me this? No, I'm kidding.
It could be with a pet, with a friend. This can be any kind of love, okay?
You know,
When was the first
surprisingly,
time?
my memory is very, very vague when I was little. But the only thing that I do remember is this dog that we had. The name was Halif. And
Halif?
man, Halif. It was a boxer. She was a boxer. And, you know, that dog is always in the background of my mind. Always, puppies. I remember her when I was growing up. That's pretty much my childhood, to be honest with you. So I would say that's when my first time I fell in love.
That's sweet. I love
That's
that.
a real good and safe answer, Luis. Clutch.
All right, next question. When was the last time you cried?
Oh man, deep cried probably 2 years ago.
Okay,
If
hold
you're
on.
talking about just a little teary-eyed, maybe about a week ago.
Oh,
Tell us about both.
Yes.
Oh man. Okay. So this last week there was a whole thing with the promotion at a job and all that, and it looks like they took another route. So it just got a little teary. I was like, you know what? It's okay. I got this. I'm gonna show out anyways because that's just who I am.
Right.
And 3 years ago, honestly, it was just one of my darkest times. I was going really through a lot of depression, anxiety, and it was probably the first time I ever really deeply cried like that, to be honest with you.
You said
I'm talking about
the first time you ever deeply cried?
Yeah, I mean, that I remember. I mean, I think I cried more than anything because I didn't know what I was feeling, to be honest with you. I was fully clothed in the shower, everything type of cry. You know what I'm saying? So
Man.
it was that type of cry.
Oh, that's a good cry. But, okay, you felt better after though, right?
Well, I felt better months after. But
Not initially.
Not initially, but it was some kind of a release.
it definitely was. I mean, yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and explaining the difference between a deep, profound cry and a teary cry.
Yeah.
It's nice to know men cry.
Yes. All right. And the last question. What have you told your inner child lately? What have you told young Luis?
That it's okay to keep believing in your dreams. Keep believing in yourself.
Okay, so here's
For sure.
here's my question to you. What little Luis, how old is that little Luis that you're talking to?
It's not that old. I mean, not that young. Probably like 10, 11 years old, to be honest with you.
So at 10, 11 years old, you had a dream. You had things that you wanted to pursue, right?
Yeah.
And then, so this is a two-part question. A, what was it that you were dreaming about? What is it that you wanted to pursue? Let's start with that. So answer that question. What were you dreaming about at that age?
Being a veterinarian. I
What?
wanted to be some type of doctor, some type of, some type of helping somebody else out. So yeah, I mean that's what I was dreaming at that time. That's what I wanted to believe in myself.
Mm.
Do you still want to be a vet?
Yeah, but I this is where I kind of hold myself back because I'm like, man, that's a lot of years. I don't think I got that many dang years.
So then you think like the time that you have to put in, and
Yeah,
then by the time you
yeah,
get done and all of that, and you've already committed to a whole other career, I assume, right?
yeah. A
But
whole lifestyle. I mean, I really wish that I would have
Mm.
thought about this when I was in high school and stuff like that. Like really put
Ah,
that thought into it.
I see.
did you share with anybody that you wanted to be a vet?
I think my whole family knows from this side. Obviously, I mean, they would always say how I always talked about it, how that's what I wanted to be, and this and that. But it's just uh, I not in the sense that I lack support, but I think I did. But that's a whole different conversation to have.
Okay, so here's my other question. There's the lacking support, and then there's dream crushing. Which one did you have your dreams crushed? Did you have any parent or family be like, you'll never do that? Did you have ever any of that?
No, I don't think so. I think it was
Oh,
just
good.
a support. I think
Got
it was
it.
a support thing.
Got it. That makes sense. I get that. I get that a lot. So, all right, if you're telling yourself what you're telling your inner child is don't give up on your dreams, keep believing, but you don't want to be a vet anymore. So, what is it that you're telling yourself not to give up on as it
Uh,
relates to your life right now, right?
not to give up on myself. I mean,
Mm.
honestly, not to give up on myself, not to give up on who I am, and
Your
what I want. I always
passions.
go for what I actually want. So even though I don't want to be a veterinarian, I mean, I always want to remind myself, man, like you're here for a reason, and you got to keep going and don't give up.
Mm.
I like that. I like that. And I think it kind of, so this episode, we're talking about value. And we kind of played around with different types of definitions of what value is. What makes you a valuable person? What do others consider valuable about you, et cetera, et cetera. And this came because I had a, Ray and I always have these really deep conversations in the most inopportune time.
Mm.
And we were talking about my, this little meltdown that I had where I placed so much value of who I was in the things that I did, in my successes, right? So being able to tell people, well, I achieved this, and I've done these great things in my life, and I've worked with these great people in my life.
I see.
I really believe that gave me some kind of credibility, right?
Yeah.
Like, look, I'm here. This is what I've done.
Yeah.
You know, value me. I'm valuable. I'm
Right.
valuable, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Ray, I because of all of that, it really made me have to recalibrate what was valuable to me, like what I that actually meant. Do you remember the conversation, Ray?
We've actually had a few conversations about value, just in general. Like,
This one in particular was we were talking about Ray DJs at Dodger Stadium, along with our other DJs as well. And Ray said, "You know what? If I don't ever DJ there again, if I don't ever, I'm not those things.
Right.
I'm
Right.
not."
Right.
Do you remember now?
yeah, I do.
You want to elaborate?
I say that because we get so caught up in the way society perceives us that we want to look good all the time. Or we just don't want to look bad. Maybe not look good all the time, but we just don't want you to see when it is bad. So sometimes we don't even show when we're doing bad, right? We just kind of go ghost. But I think when that happens is we start placing value in the things that we do
Yeah.
rather than who we are as an individual. So when I said that, it was more so just to say, like, if for some reason I never got the opportunity again to do it, I'm okay with that. There's
Right.
no value as great as the opportunity is, and which is very rare, especially in Los Angeles. Like
That part.
to be one of the few that are able to go back and perform for people, it's obviously it's something that you got to like treasure, right? But at the end of the day, like I told you, Ricky, when I go home, my kids, they don't care about that.
Right.
That has no value, and what has value to me is what my kids worry about, or what my kids, how they see me. So
Yeah.
I could DJ at Dodger Stadium, I could DJ in whatever venue you want me to be at, but that don't mean nothing to my kids.
Right.
What they care about is the man that's behind that door when he gets home, and that's where the value has to be placed, because a lot of times we're so worried about having such a high value for other people that don't matter to us.
Of that, and see, that's what I think I was doing, right? I'm over here projecting to people, this is what I've done, and most people don't even care. Like the
Right.
people that I was worried about don't care.
Yeah.
And I was so in my head about, you know, in particular, you know, with Rose City Sound, that if this didn't work out or if this failed,
Yeah.
well,
What
then
is your life?
What was gonna happen to me?
Yeah.
Now what? Now who am I? And then in that conversation with Ray, it was, you're way more than that. You are
Right.
not. You are not what you do. You are
Right.
not what you build, which can go both ways, because you are a collection of all those achievements and failures and all that other stuff. But I was really in my head about it, and it made me, for some reason, I found it very comforting for Ray to say, like, if I don't have any of this, like, none
It's
of that
okay.
really matters. Like,
Right.
what matters is the people that, like, your children walking through the door, and how you make them feel.
Right.
So, to my point, I think that what is valuable is how you make people feel.
Yeah, I would agree, because even like with what you guys are saying, I think that's one of my biggest turnoffs about people is when people go, oh, I do this and I work for whatever, and I'm like, so I don't
So I turned
care.
you off a lot.
No. But so I believe that you should be able to flaunt, hey, you know what? I do work here. I do have these things, blah, 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 because you have worked hard to get to these places, right? So I don't think there's anything wrong with being happy for yourself in that regard. But like you were saying, I am more than just what the Dodger Stadium, for example, right? What interests me about people is what makes you tick? What makes you giggly? What makes you upset? What makes you happy? What foods are you turned off by? You know, that I believe has a lot to do with value and the things that make people happy and excited and give them value. In the end, going back to that, you know.
So you're more interested in the value that you have for other people, like that you could actually be valuable to someone else.
Explain.
So
Maybe I'm not understanding.
so you're saying like it's not, obviously you're proud of your accomplishments, and it's not, that's, you take a part of that, right? But it's not necessarily what makes you. The other things that make you, that I guess put the value all together, is how valuable you are to other people.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So all
yes,
the things that make people tick, that's what you're saying is their value.
right.
What makes
right.
people move is their value. Got it. Okay. So then, Luis, I'll pose this question to you. What makes you tick, and what value is that?
You know, that whole conversation you guys were just having is there's different sections to that. Like, I think a lot of people want to feel more appreciated about their value than actually just say, this is what I'm valuable because of this, this, and this, you know. And like, to Natalie though, like, you know, to find out what their ticks are and all that, that's more about finding out their personality. But a lot of people have walls built up, you know, like they're not just gonna come up and be like, hey, I just met you, and this, and this is how I am. They're more like, hey, this is what I've done, this is what I've accomplished, and this is who I am based on what society is asking for. But
Yeah.
That's a good point.
what makes me tick, I mean, I would say that what's valuable about me is just my perspective. The way that I view life and the way that I view things in general. I mean, I'm here to make sure that everybody feels that same value within themselves, you know,
Oh, I like
even
that.
if I'm in my lowest part. But I think that's also my downfall, is I'm too worried about everybody else before I worry about myself as well.
So that's actually an incredible point that you make, Luis, because I'm like that, right? I am struggling and have struggled through feelings of worthlessness or not being good enough. And I've struggled with that my whole life. And so what I do is try to make people not feel what I feel, whether I'm not even really thinking about the other person, but I'm always trying to like accommodate
Make them
and
feel
make
better.
people feel good, make
Yeah.
people feel loved, make people feel worthy, make people feel appreciated, Luis. That's, and to your point also, but that comes at a deficit, because when you're so worried about making people feel valuable, you're pouring all of your cup into others, emptying yours completely, all because you want them to feel what you don't feel
Right.
of
Yeah.
value. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you're kind
Yeah.
of removing yourself altogether. You're denying your own feelings and thoughts about your worthiness. You're not doing the work.
No, because it's easier to make other people feel better than to try to figure out why I can't make myself feel better.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
lot easier. I
It's a
mean,
it's a very fine line though. Like,
Yeah.
it's like work. To balance as your manager, right? To balance, being friendly and being, dictator type. It's a fine line to balance. But I think you have to learn first yourself before you try to save others, right?
Mm.
You got to be able to get yourself situated first. And to be honest with you guys, that's something big. That was the reason why when you guys asked me, the deep cry, that
Yeah.
was something big that I was dealing back then. Like, I was trying to show love to people that I didn't even feel for myself, So it was really, it's something really deep. But you want to help those people because you've been in that position. You
right.
just got to know when to take your hand out of there,
Yeah.
and let
Yeah.
them deal with their own cards.
I love that you said that. So, do you know? I'm assuming that you learned as a result of all of that when to identify that you need to take your hand out of something. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, I thank my dad for that, to be honest, because it's just hard. Yeah, just because again, you just can't be focusing on everybody else and let your life around you just start going downhill.
Luis,
It's hard. Yes.
I got a question, bro. Do you think this is to go with, and either for Natalie or Ricky, but do you think when people do that, when they pour so much into other people, obviously it's through the caring, right? But when you guys do that and you find yourselves doing that, do you think a big part of that is because you're trying to avoid what you have to deal with yourself first?
Most definitely. Uh, you're trying to make sure that you don't have to focus on yourself and your problems at the end of the day, and that would go back to feel value, right? Like, if you can help somebody else, they will, appreciate you, and you'll start feeling valuable, and you'll
And
forget about
accepted.
what you're actually going through in the background.
Now,
Yeah. It's one of those, like, you can, and we hear it all the time, and we do it to our friends and our family. Oh my God, I'm so happy for you. You deserve this. Yeah, of course they deserve it, but you can only say that so much. Why don't we say that to ourselves more? I deserve this. I'm worthy. I deserve the opportunity, the wealth, the creativity. I deserve all of these things for myself just as much as I wish them for others. And I don't think we have that conversation with ourselves enough, because we're so quick to be negative about it. I'm a mess. I'm worthless. I'm this. I'm that.
Do you think that's because society tells us that we're not supposed to?
I think
Not
so.
supposed to deserve it,
No,
or
that
not supposed to think
you're not
positively.
supposed. Because if you acknowledge yourself and you acknowledge the things that you have done, there a big majority of society will look at you like, well, whoop-de-doo, like,
Yeah.
congratulations. Like,
Hmm.
society puts a negative notion on that. So we put ourselves down before we actually lift ourselves up.
and let's
Yeah.
think about who our society is.
Yeah.
The closest society that we have are our friends and families, and their behaviors and their judgments and their assessments and their beliefs on what you should or should not do.
And
Right?
and I wonder how that is different for men and for women in our friend and family group. How are they cheering you on, or as opposed to, how are they cheering on men as opposed to the women? And I hate to bring it up, but it's just such a hot topic. You can't help the patriarchy. You know what I mean? So I do think that, um, and I can't speak for the men, right? So you guys will have to help us out here. But I think for the women, it's like, no, take care of your kids, take care of your family, take care of your home, blah blah blah. And they give you, and it starts very young, right? You baby girls, they'll get a baby doll, you'll get an easy bake oven, you'll get the little house. But then boys, they get Legos, they get trucks. Be an entrepreneur, be a critical thinker, think for yourself, da 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 da. And so again, generalizing, right? So I don't know how men and women are trained differently to think, oh no, only think this much, don't think bigger, don't want more, don't look for more for yourself, because you have to be here. But men, go follow the money, get more, be bigger, be a provider, da 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 da. The pressures are different, right?
I'm laughing because I'm thinking about all the things that I got growing up, like toys and stuff. Like, what did I get growing up?
Yeah.
I got an Ewok, like a stuffed Ewok, which I loved, and I still have. I need to find it.
Yeah.
I didn't get, excuse me, like, I got very neutral toys, like a lot of neutral things. And I think before saying that it was imposed on me that a specific role, I think creativity was at the base of my upbringing, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't feel pressure either way. I was just so abundantly surrounded by creativity. So not just music, but through literature and through art and through, I had all of these things in front of me growing up that kind of guided me through everything.
Yeah.
And now I forgot where I was going with that thought. God, Jesus. We were talking about just that the patriarchy and all that stuff. Now, the downside to all of that is growing up, yes, I would say that I saw a lot of support naturally poured into men, right? So for instance, I think about my dad and his brothers, and they had bands and everybody would go and play. My brother, when he was in a band, like my grandparents were at the Key Club at a heavy metal show supporting my brother and my cousin Mando,
Right.
It's just such a thing that you have to support men. You have to immediately give them that value, that support is just, here you go, red carpet. Where I'm here, not even inviting the men in my family to come listen to this podcast.
Right.
I'm like, they're not going to care. Well, who cares? My grandparents didn't care about heavy metal, but they were there.
Listened. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it was an automated thing.
Right.
So it's different. And Luis, what do you think about that? Because, hey, you're my cousin on both sides, which for the record, I want to clarify.
Yeah.
Luis is literally my cousin twice. His dad married my mom's sister.
Okay.
Wait,
so you
no,
guys are super
no,
cousins.
Hold on. I said that totally wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. His dad married my mom's sister. Yeah, okay. Now that sounded just weird coming out of my mouth. It was like, what? So we're both maternally and paternally.
His dad, meaning your uncle on your dad's side, married your mom.
Yeah, my mom's
your
sister.
Mom's sister. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, this is taking a turn.
Yes. But what Luis, would you say in our family, do you think that naturally our family has valued and supported the men more than the females?
It's kind of a tough question.
It is.
I'm gonna kind of take a couple steps back to start off with, like what Natalie was saying about the women and the men. I mean,
yes.
I just think that is just how we are wired to begin with, just to kind of think about men and women have to do this and do that.
Yeah.
I think it also is big, heavy on generations. Like I think
Yes.
this generation is definitely breaking that ritual, right? That continuing to be men and women. But I think also the women are slowly finding out that everything that men are capable of, maybe the women can't be, That's to no disrespect to nobody. I can't speak about women or nothing like that because I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Wait. To clarify, you're saying that women are realizing that they can't do some things that men can do? Is that what you said?
In a sense, yeah. And even men can't do women stuff. Like I'm sitting here like I can't sit down and paint nails and do hair and all
you
this
could.
crap, you know what I'm
You
saying?
could do both of those things,
But I
Luis.
don't-
What you
but I
can't
don't
do is
have
have a
that.
baby. You
So-
can't give birth to a baby.
So
That's
I
something big,
I
right?
get what Luis is actually saying
Okay.
in that context. So
Yeah.
Luis, go ahead and continue, and then I'll give you guys the breakdown of listening to the three of you because neither one of you are actually wrong. You guys are all like
Yeah.
are 100
which
percent correct.
I would say would be going back down to how we were raised. Um, and I was raised by my mom. I wasn't raised by my dad that much. So I don't really think I had that man mentality at the end of the day either. To be honest with you,
Oh
like that's
wow.
something that I learned throughout the years. And when
Mm.
you go, what the family has and what's not, like I think if none of y'all know, like we're from Texas over here. My side of the
Yeah.
family is from Texas, and everybody's over there from Cali. So I think the Texas family and the California family are, in a sense, completely different people. But from
Mm.
what I've seen, I mean, that side of the family in Cali definitely supported the guys a lot.
Right.
And over here, I mean, my dad, it was just my dad and I, and then obviously my brothers and my sisters. But it was different. But I mean, my mom came and supported me all the dang time. So I can't really, and that goes back down to my memory is very vague. I don't know if it's just my self blocking memories or not, but
Luis,
it's hard.
what do you consider me? California mota or Texas mota?
A California mota.
I was born there, Luis, in Texas.
Well, here, let me tell you something. It might dive deep, okay? Before
Oh,
we get out of the conversation, I'm just gonna break it down like
I'm
that.
scared.
We
If
like
I
deep.
can relate, if I can relate to anybody, a lot would be Ricky and the girls and Carlos. I think
Yes.
that's the people when I talk about the California people, those are the people that and I see a lot of them and me and a lot of me and them. So
Yes.
honestly, like
Mm.
I would say I consider you California people because you live over there. But if I can say anything, I mean I feel closest to you guys. That's
Aw,
my
that's
fault as
sweet.
well.
I feel validated and valuable. Thank you, Luis. I'm with all of that. But I do have a question about you mentioned that you were raised majority by your mom, so you didn't have a lot of those paternal elements that you then figured out that you were missing. Do you remember the moment that you figured out you were missing that? Does that make sense?
I'm not even gonna lie to you. Yeah, I do, but I no, I think it just came within. To be honest with you, um, it's something to dive in deeper. Yeah, I mean, even though I live with my mom, like my mom worked all the time, so not that I was raised by the streets or nothing like that, but I
But
was
you were.
I was a little malandro out there, doing the wrong things with the wrong people. So I think I learned the wrong side of where I wanted to be at,
Mm.
by this and by sensing my friends that I was with at that time. So, but I can't sit here and say like, oh yeah, it was this and this. No, I can't. I'm not gonna
Mm.
lie either.
Yeah.
And it's tough being a single parent. From a mother's perspective, too. I have a son, and I think about all the time what he may be missing that
Mm.
I could not provide to him.
Yeah.
And which, to your point, Luis, that women and men can't do what each person does.
Right.
There's just no way that seasoning can happen without actually.
Yeah, you need both.
You do need both.
Yeah,
You do need both. That's for sure. Okay, Ray, you said you were gonna break
definitely.
something down.
Yeah. So not, I mean, not entirely break it down, but so based off of what Natalie was saying, as far as you're pretty much like taught that at a young age, right? So I think just in general, um, I don't know who I would put this on, but naturally, like you said, the girls get dolls, the boys get
Right.
plastic hammers and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of awkward because they're trying to instill traditional
Values.
values and old school mindset in a modern day.
Oof.
And one thing that Ricky and I have had conversations about is things like that because the thing is, I think with today's society, when there's men that you got to be a man, right?
Mm.
But at the end of the day, like there's a lot of things that contribute into that. Way back in the days, when we could say maybe 60s, 70s, even maybe the 80s, the men went to work, the women stayed home,
Mm.
right? However, in California, you can't do that no more,
No.
right? So that's where we introduced the new value or the new modern
The modern piece of it.
the modern
Mhm.
piece of it. So women have to work
Yeah.
and the men have to work. But oftentimes, and there's gonna be men that might hate on me for saying this, But oftentimes, I think men misconstrue that modern part by wanting to hold on to the traditional part by saying, well, I went to work and you're the woman, so you still have to cook and clean.
Right.
Mind you, she also went to work.
Oh,
And in a relationship, they always say relationships aren't actually 50-50.
no.
There's going to be, at some point within your relationship, if it's going to last, at some point it's going to have to be broken down and fractioned out accordingly. There's going to be moments where the husband is going to make more financially, so the woman's going to have to do something
Right.
as
To
far as like
compensate for that.
caregiving to compensate for that, and vice versa. There's going to be times where the load's heavier for one and not the other, and I think with them instilling the old traditional value by giving the little girl babies and kitchens and easy bake ovens and shit like that, right? I think with stuff like that, you're almost fucking up what you're still trying
Your
to.
innateness.
Yeah, you're
Right.
like, oh, here, take all these toys and learn how to do this. But but then the Barbie is a
Yeah.
boss Barbie.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, yes.
You know what I mean? So it's just like, wait a minute,
Boss
is she supposed to be a boss or is she supposed to stay at home?
What's she doing?
You know what I mean? So it's like you're still telling the little girl, like, oh, you could be a boss, but play with the little doll.
Right.
She's a big boss.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's kind of
She's wearing her big girl heels.
it makes it a little confusing, and then to the point of for Luis where he was explaining how he was raised more by his mother, and what he was saying is true. So they usually say that if a man in general will find how to be influenced by a man, and it's either going to be by the one in the house or the one in the street.
Oh.
No matter what, that's just human nature. I think if you go into a single home, he's going to figure out how to be a man, and
One way or the other.
one way or the other,
Right.
you know. And to your point, Ricky, women, there are certain values that women can't
And still.
instill in a man.
Right.
There's certain things where, like, even with my son, I try to explain to him, one, him being a boy, two, he's just a little bit darker than some of the other kids. You know what I mean? So one thing we have to like instill and having a brain fart. We got to make it a point for them to know is that it's not the same for you, which goes to what Luis was saying is
Right.
women are, even in today's modern society, are finally realizing that the equality part isn't equal, because my son could do something and the chances of him being in trouble for whatever it is he did would be far more greater than
Yeah.
it would be for a woman. And then if another thing we would have to look at child support.
Right.
It doesn't matter what the situation is. Most of the time, the women is favored, especially in California.
There are exceptions.
There are exceptions. But when you're talking in a generalized sense,
Yeah.
that's just how it goes. And what sucks is, I know I don't consider you guys to be like that type of podcast where you have to like generalize gender roles.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's one of those things you really can't escape, because they're like, again, like Louis said, there's things that women can't do that men do.
So I want to go back to how you said, like, we're not equal, right? I've always said it. We're not equal, right? Yeah. We are not created equal. But I wouldn't want to be created equal.
You're not supposed to be.
Under any circumstances, do I want to be your equal at all? Because one day, my equality may be way more valuable than your equality. And I'm putting that in a job perspective.
Yeah.
Right? You're applying for a job and, you know, you have two applicants and I'm different than this person is. There's differences. Those inequalities have value. Those differences have value.
Yeah.
I always told everybody, oh, it needs to be fair. No, it doesn't. It's not about being fair. It's about doing the right thing.
Right. Hiring the right person.
Like I said, you're 100% correct, because so let's put Luis and myself and you two ladies in a job, right? So our job is to work on the road.
Okay.
Who's gonna go work on the road?
You guys.
And what
And
are
I'm
you
not
gonna do?
and I'm not saying
But-
you
but-
guys because I wouldn't do it myself because you know damn well I would.
You
But-
would, but in that type of environment, you have limitations.
Yeah,
Okay,
not
wait,
as
wait,
strong
wait,
as
wait,
you
wait,
are.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk. This is the perfect time to talk about this. Maybe it was a year ago that we were having a conversation with, I can't even remember who it was. We had some people here in the studio, and the topic came up about how there's no way women could ever compete with men in the same sport. Like, you can't have women in football.
You can't.
So here's the thing. Here's what I was thinking, right? You believe in evolution? Right? Like we
Yeah.
evolve, right?
Yes,
the
yes.
the what is that white thing? The fittest.
Survival of the fittest.
Survival of the fittest, right? Survival of the fittest and adaptation and evolution, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the female was put into a forum with the male and it was a long-term thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
The female is going to adapt. The female is going to figure out how to compete now against a man. Initially, it would be a shit show. It would definitely be scary. Not scary. I don't know. Like, it's risky, right? Someone's going to get hurt or die.
Yeah.
Because men will probably hesitate in their performance because they don't want to necessarily hurt you until
Yeah.
they gain that confidence in hurting. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I think
but
so.
given the opportunity, right? That's natural, right? When you put
Really
someone
evolve.
or something in a position where they have to survive, they will. And given enough time, a woman could, and that's a theory that
Fit
I
the
have.
part.
A woman could adapt to becoming that,
Strategically.
and with time,
No.
just like
Well-
the
well,
if
here's-
the little if you had the little
But-
frog in the lake,
Okay.
and then the little
Tadpole.
frog grew legs, and the little frog grew evolution. Like, it's gonna happen.
Okay, so this is why I say strategically, because you could find an easier way than what a man could figure out, right? Men naturally, and through evolution or not, men naturally have more physical strength than a woman. And so let me put in this category for you. Right now, I believe in boxing, the WBC committee, I believe it's either this year or next year, they're actually passing for their own bout for transgender
Oh yeah, that's a whole.
opponents.
That's a,
But here's the thing, right? So if it's kind of awkward, but at the same time, would you want a woman who was once a man, who obviously she now claims to be a woman, fighting in a sanctioned bout against a woman who naturally
Was born that way.
was born that way and does not have the natural strength that woman who isn't or wasn't
trans
born a
woman.
woman? You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
like
I wouldn't.
I get it, but you know,
in that aspect, you have to, because I think what you're doing now is you're just trying to narrow it out to make your point.
oh, I would never want to be
Do you get
yes.
with the I'm speaking more in a general
Yeah.
context. So without hesitation, the transgender woman would beat the shit out of.
Let me ask you this. Let's use wrestling as an example. If you blindfolded both wrestlers, do you think that a man would be able to know that he's wrestling? Oh yeah, well, with a woman.
Yes.
Hold on. I didn't just think of that for no. I had this whole visual in my head.
Okay, so-
the visual is important. First
Are
of
we
all.
not including cup sizes?
I had this.
I get it.
I
I
had
get
this
where
played
you're
out
trying to go.
differently in my head. Okay, the visual part is important.
It's okay.
You get what I'm saying, though, right? I'm just saying, given the opportunity and time, people, you will
Evolve.
and get into what you need to get into.
So how do men not evolve with their strength then? With what
Equally,
you're
huh?
saying.
Wait, no. Okay, no. Watch this.
So no. listen real quick though, because you're not.
I know.
I don't want to sound rude, but you're not listening. So here's the thing. Evolution isn't one-sided, and I think where you're going with it is women are evolving. So women can evolve to figure out how to do it, right? Or whatever the task may be. If you lock the two of them in the room, the way you're arguing it is that the woman is evolving.
Yeah.
You're not keeping in mind that the man also evolves.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
So
of course. No.
not only does his mind evolve, the man physically will always have a step ahead because he's also evolving. Unless there's some type of
Magic pill.
scientific magic pill or something that's actually giving the woman to fast forward her process of evolution, the man will always have.
We're gonna evolve at the same rate, but with different tools.
Yeah.
know?
Absolutely.
But-
and that's all I'm trying to
so
say.
that still goes back to Luis's point. Women are finally realizing that even though they fought so much for equality, you're really not as equal as you think you're going to be. You're only fighting for the equality of paper, to be honest.
Financially?
Financially, yes. Because at the end of the day, like the example I gave, if Luis and I and the two of you worked for a company and that company was a company that sends people out to work on the roads, chances of Luis and I being the ones working on the road will be a lot greater than it would be for
Yeah.
Natalie and Rickie.
Right, but just like if two people go up for a director position at a company, the dude's gonna get paid more than the female's gonna get paid, even though the female has way more experience and confidence.
Yeah.
Than
But that's
and I'm cool with that. Like,
that was my point though. The equality is more so for the paper than it is for the actual.
Yeah.
I could see that. No, for sure.
The equalness all around.
Yeah.
100%. I don't disagree with you, and that's important and valuable because we are valuable. We are valuable, and that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about what makes us valuable and why. Just to go back, what, Natalie, in your opinion, makes you valuable?
My being. God, Jesus.
You
Can
had a
skip-
whole week to think
I
about
know.
this.
Well, clearly,
You
I
had a
clearly
whole
just showed up
week.
right now.
Luis gave us a
hard.
detailed explanation
This
of
is
what
Luis's
made
show.
him valuable.
It's about Luis.
Shout out to Luis, man.
But actually, let me ask this. So when you're looking for, when you're dating or when you guys picked your partners and you married the people that you married, right? Did it cross through your mind like, well, how valuable is this person? What kind of investment am I making here with the value? What is it that I value with these people? Does that actually cross your mind during the process? Should it cross your mind?
Yes.
Yeah.
Luis, go ahead, and then I'll go next. Or do you want me to
No,
go?
you go for it. I'm gonna think about it for a week real quick.
So I was thinking when I started dating Mike, the first thing was, okay, where the value was, what does he value in himself and his family? What is his family like? I value that he speaks a different language.
Hold
he
on,
speaks
pause.
Spanish.
That was so you're saying that the first thing that you thought about that you wanted to know is how he valued his family because family values is what's important to you. Oh, okay.
So family.
Okay.
Does he speak another language, which Spanish was important to me because I was thinking in the future, I want my kids to be raised with a big family. I want them to know the language, et cetera, et cetera. So, and also and you've seen it does go back to the paper, right? Oh, what does he do for a living? Is he going to be able to provide? Is he going to be able to, make sure that my family, meaning the future children that we have, are going to be okay? Are they going to be financially stable?
Right.
Et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, those things were
Those are three
first
good
and
things.
foremost.
So family, language,
Security.
culture, and then financial security. Those were your top three. Ray, did you look at your wife and want to? What were your three values that you were looking at your wife? And Luis, get ready for this.
To be honest, I think the only value that I did, and at the time, because you got to remember, we were all young. Well, I was, she was, but for me, when looking at her, obviously I was like, damn, she looks good. But it's also just like I don't need financial, like the financial side. I think just naturally the way I was raised was to be a provider.
Got
So
it.
I didn't look at it like my wife needs to hold her end up, right? Her end is just making sure that I'm happy. That's it. It's that simple. I think for me it's more simple in that aspect where I don't need to know that she could hold her 50 side of the 100% relationship, right? It's just I wasn't raised that way, but I was also raised in the sense of you're not going to depend on a woman.
Hold on. So you are looking at her like you're providing for her, but then what was the last thing you just said?
I don't
You
ever
don't
have
need
to
to-
depend on her. Meaning when I come home, I don't have to worry that there's a plate of food like waiting for me.
Got it.
I could fend for myself if I needed to, right? So I never looked at really at any of the women that I ever dated. It was just it wasn't what the only value I would was looking for was that they could just keep me happy, right? Because
That's easy.
at the end of the
Fair.
day, if I'm the provider, I'm looking at a place to lay my head down and separate from the rest of what I had to go through the
I
day,
get that.
right? I don't want to have to come home and
Stress out.
stress out about shit that I don't need to stress out about. I'm already working to keep food on the table, and so that was my mindset. Obviously, like I mentioned before, Ricky, and just in general, in today's society, you can't just look at it that way. You have to adapt. You have to maneuver and adjust to whatever situations you're going
The
through.
realities.
You know, because there was a time when we were both broke,
Right.
but as my natural being and the way I go about things is I stepped out and made sure that we never went without. You
Ever
know,
again.
and there was times where I would say, "Hey, you don't have to go to work. If you choose to go to work, that's cool." You know, and then again, that value of my mom saying you wouldn't have to depend on a woman, like just make sure you're good to eat. If I come home and I don't have something to eat,
You can fend for yourself.
I could fend for myself,
Right.
but we don't have to. You know, so I think
So you were just looking for happiness, someone
I'm
that
just
was going to
looking
make
for
you
happiness,
happy
someone
and
that-
stress free, that can make you feel comfortable when you come home,
Yeah.
understands you, all that stuff.
I mean, you've seen how we are together.
Yes.
We're not. I mean, we fight like any couple, right? And we've argued in the past about money and shit like that. But I think at the point in our relationship that we're at now, I don't have to worry about that shit.
Right.
I know what I'm gonna bring, and I know what she's bringing that she doesn't have to.
Got it.
Which, by the way, I just want to shout out your podcast that you just premiered last week.
Yes.
The Sam and Ray podcast. Amazing. I love
Thank
it.
Yes. Yes. And I learned a lot about Ray listening to that podcast.
I mean,
it's a whole different side of Ray.
sorry, but Samantha's just, I love her. I feel like she's my best friend. She's a hoot.
She's a hoot.
She's great.
That's the
She's great.
the best word to describe her. So yeah, check out. Wait,
Check
is it
out
the
their
Salmon
podcast.
Ray or the no Salmon Ray?
It's the Salmon Ray
It's the Salmon
podcast.
Ray.
Off
I checked
tangent.
myself
Yeah.
real quick. With
Listen to them after you listen to ours. But okay, Luis,
that. Luis,
what do you got for us?
the three most valuable things that you were looking for and found in Valerie.
I hate to just piggyback on Ray like that, but I think he just honestly, I think he hit the nail. I mean, first I was like, dang, the big old booty. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. No, but honestly, it was peace of mind. For sure, peace of mind. I was still young. Well, not young, but I think it was just peace of mind. Yeah, I mean, just like Ray said, I mean, at the end of the day, I've been doing it. I can do it, and I don't need it. But obviously, something attracted me to her, and I think it was just that comfortability, right? That peace of mind at the end of the day. And it's worked out perfect. 9 years, so you know what I'm saying? I mean, I can't say it hasn't, right? So but yeah, I mean, it's not a long answer, but Ray hit it right there.
I think it just kind of shows the very differences between what men and women look for in other people, because
our partners.
in partners.
Well, what are yours?
I don't know, because that's I was thinking about that. Like, what is it that what would I value in somebody else?
You had a week.
So,
Totally kidding.
so Ricky,
Yeah,
I don't want to answer it for you,
Mm-hmm.
but
please.
I said this actually when I was a guest on your podcast
Yes,
last
that
year.
was a good show.
But we talk probably as often as my wife and I speak,
Yep.
right? Yeah, damn near on a daily basis. So, in understanding and having conversations with you, don't get upset with me.
Here it goes. Okay, angry panda. Here we go.
I think you think like a man.
Oh my God.
So the value that you set for yourself is exactly how Luis and I look at it. But that's only because you are the one that seeks to provide.
Do you agree with that, Ricky? Ricky's confirming yes. She's not saying anything because she's like about to be mid tears. I could see that.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's
It's all
not.
right.
No, because he's not wrong.
Yeah.
But that's not how.
You
That's
perceiving
not
yourself?
what I wanted.
Oh. Mm.
Damn right.
How bad?
No, it goes back to actually adaptability
Yeah.
and evolution. You do what you have to do.
Yeah.
I didn't want that.
Yeah.
I didn't want to struggle that much. But my choices, my choices, and my
What do you say?
Naivety?
Expectations?
no.
I have. Yeah. What
do you mean?
What is that?
What?
The direction that you chose to go in?
No, not people I chose. Partners that I chose, right? So like just the choices that I made with specific people in my life, like where I had to think, why did I have to think like a man? Well, I had to raise 3 children on my own. Right?
So you have to think like a man and a woman.
I go into provider mode,
Yeah.
work super, super, super hard
Yeah.
without work super, super, super hard
Yeah.
to provide for my kids. And I didn't want them to just have a struggling life. I wanted to provide them,
With
a
more.
good home and traveling and all that stuff. But man, would it have been nice to have support, And like you said, Ray, like I had to think differently, and I had to put my mindset in a different place. And this is why I'm probably single and will be single for the rest of my life, because I can't. And I'm trying to actually turn that off. I'm trying to learn how to ask for help, lean on people, and damn, I really did not think I was gonna get this emotional over that, but here I am.
But it's fair. It's fair because it's your truth. And that's just what you've had
Right.
to
And
go
with,
through.
and with saying all that, I mean, that puts a better perspective if you look back at yourself. Like, look at yourself in the mirror. That puts a better perspective of what your value is.
And you know what? I feel like that devalued me, actually. I feel like thinking like a man really devalued me, because when I would get into, relationships, and that was always the common thing. The feedback I would get back from my failed relationships was like, you work way too hard. You work too much. Like, stop. Why are you always thinking about business? Why are you always thinking about money? Why are you always trying to do the next big thing? I'm trying to make money for my kids. I'm trying to survive. I'm trying to provide a better life. That's why I'm always thinking like that. There's no time to relax. There's no time to sit back and enjoy raising a family. No, that's not the hand I was dealt.
Yeah.
Right? So because my mind is like that, I go into situations where, and again, going back to denial, right? Like, how can I not just help and raise a family, but help other people? I'm always in that helping other people mode.
Right.
And I don't even know how to accept any kind of
Help.
tenderness or
For
value,
yourself.
or someone telling me like, damn, you know what? I appreciate you. You're valuable. Like, thank you for doing all of this. I don't know how to accept that, because it's just never. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. I don't wish that was my story. I don't wish that. I wish it would have been different for me in that regard.
But if it was, would you be who you are?
Right.
Right.
No.
So
Oh,
so to say that it devalues you, I don't.
I feel like
I-
I feel like it does, Ray, because I can't. What man in my life has said, I value you because you think like a man. I value you because of all your hustle. I value you because you work
So-
too many hours. What man? Not one.
They're the wrong man. They're the wrong man. Simple as that.
100%,
I mean,
Louise.
they're just wrong man.
100%.
You got to be appreciated for what you are at the end of the day. Like if you're a hard worker, a hustler, and you're looking for the most, then find somebody that wants to do the same with you.
Yeah.
The misconception that people believe that two have to become one, it's not that. It's you're your own person, and we help each other build to our great success. And if you happen to leave at the end of the day, you became your true potential, and I became my true potential.
Amen.
Not twisted in between each other. And now, who am I at the end of the day?
Yeah.
But
Amen.
I mean, I think you're just, in a sense, I mean, be proud of yourself. You've done it where you're at for a reason, and then stop believing that you need somebody at the end of the day to be happier. Like find the
Yeah.
right person, and that's it.
Right. And
You know,
Luis, and I'm so glad that you said that, because it kind of really made me think about like the things that I want, like which is helping me answer my question. Like what I would value in somebody else is somebody else's own self-efficacy, like somebody else's own desire to do good and to be good, and someone's own desire to love themselves, and someone who is independent, someone
Yeah.
who is just as passionate about the things that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
So it's basically what I value is someone who values themselves.
I think
And
that
and then whatever I get from that is just like a sprinkle on a cupcake, right? Because I have to be in a place where I value and I love myself, where I don't need that other person's love. It's just a fucking sprinkle. It just
Yeah.
makes my life
just
better.
adds.
It just
Yeah.
adds to it, but it's not dependent on it.
Right, right. I think that at the end of the day, we just want a friend. We just want a life partner, someone to enjoy life with. And I think we downplay a lot. I don't know if it's ingrained or what is this conditioning that we do, that we think we need someone, or you're my better half. Ew, no, I'm my own better half. I am whole all by myself, and you are whole all by yourself, and we come together and we're great and we're fun and we're cool and we can talk to each other and we jive and etc. But yeah, I don't know why we've become so exceptionally great at wanting to depend on someone.
Or need someone else's value in our lives. And when I say need someone else's value, right? Because I'm thinking about, what you were talking about and your own values. Like you needed someone to make sure that they have a good relationship with their family. You needed somebody that spoke Spanish. You needed somebody who was financially secure. Like you needed those elements in order for what? In order to make you feel better? In order to make you feel like a better person? Or because you just found that's those elements in that person made them just a better person.
And we can even going back to your evolution thing, so that the generation can evolve, can progress, can be
always
better.
the goal. That is always the goal for the generations to get.
Do you think that there needs to be a better understanding of what the relationships should be, right? So going back to like what Natalie is saying. So we all went through like the
whole
cycle
circle.
of whose values are what, right? And I have to say this just to clarify for anybody listening or watching. At the end of the day, your values are your values, and that doesn't make them wrong. They might be wrong to someone else, but if that's what you value and that's what you seek in someone else to be a value to you, then so be it, right? But like Natalie was saying, we have to kind of stop looking at relationships as finding someone to make me better. Like
Right.
First of all, one thing I always tell my mom when she talks to my sister, like, oh, you're going to find somebody. You're not going to find nobody. That person will come. You don't go looking for something.
Yeah,
You got to just let it happen. And when it happens, it happens.
I agree.
And back to Luis's point of understanding your self-value, your worth, and everything that you have and bring forth to it. You can't shit shame the person next to you.
Shit shame. I love that.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You can't sit there and be like, well, I bring this. It's not, you're not in a fucking relationship to be in a competition with each other.
Right. Right.
At the end of the day, you guys got to go home and lay down together. And if you lay down next to each other in disgust, then what's the point of being in that relationship? There's no competition in a relationship.
I want to say, and it's it's ironic that my dad's here visiting today, but it was really impactful, Ray, for you to say that I had to learn how to think like a man, and I immediately ran back to a very specific day with my dad when I wanted to gift a guitar to the father of my children, to my husband at the time, right? And we go to, I don't know, like Sam Ash. We go to some music store because I'm going to buy him a guitar because he wants to learn how to play the guitar. And I'm like, Dad, can you help me go and pick a guitar? I'm going to get it on credit. Like, I'm going to apply for credit. And then we're filling out the application. And then I put my husband's information in at the time, like how much money he made and where he worked and how long he had worked there. And my dad looked at me and he said, "Oh no, this
will not do.
This will not do. Like you're," and I can't remember if I already had my first son and pregnant with my second or just my first. And dead serious looked at me and was like, this cannot happen. You need to figure something out for yourself. Like, and I took it like for real what he was saying. If I don't do something for myself, if I don't end up becoming the bigger provider, I'm screwed. Like there's no way out of this. In that moment is very much when it clicked in my head that I had to provide, that I had to provide in that very moment. That was a key moment. That was a key memory. And you probably don't remember, do you, Dad? Yeah, he has zero memory.
He doesn't remember. He doesn't want to talk about it.
Give him a shot of tequila and he'll remember.
Luis, we have some tequila here that he will not drink because it's not the greatest tequila. So, Luis, we really appreciate all of your time and all of your insight. And I just realized I'm not even sure that we asked you in the beginning of this podcast about your song and how much we actually love your song so much. So I wanna just touch on that really quick before we wrap it up and get into the chat with everybody on Twitch. What was the inspiration of the song?
I had like 6 more hours to go. I was ready to go 6 more hours.
Hey, hang tight, bro. We still got the chat.
Now, honestly, that I'm not gonna take full credit for that. That's also one of my friends, one of my good friends, Ruben. He's the one who mixed, mastered, produced lyrics. He's the one that did all of that crap. He's the one that got me into the whole game. So that would, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and pat myself on the back. That's the guy that I'm gonna give the whole credit to be honest with you. Like that's the mastermind. City Boy Tune on Instagram, Lil Guapo on Spotify and all that. He's a mastermind behind all of that. That's a whole different story to get into, but that's a funny story. But I mean, honestly, that would be a very very good guest as well, guys. To be honest with you, he's a mastermind. Is all I'm going to say.
He's a mastermind.
But it's fun. I mean, you hear the music. It's fun. It's inviting. It's everything that you want, right? I mean, it's emotional. It's everything. So once that came on, the beat and all that, we were like, man, we need to make this, and it happened. And the rest of my verse is on there as well, and that's all him right there. And I can't even buy it.
And the hook that got me was the part, because obviously you say vamos a cantar, tomar, so sing, drink, dance, but you put vamos a llorar, and that really we're here to cry. I'm inviting you to cry. What with that particular lyric, were you thinking of a specific moment?
No, that again, it's 50-50. That's him and that's me. So that's all. Again, that's the mastermind is him. To be honest with you, no, he is not. I'm surprised, to be honest with you. That guy. Well, I mean, from what I see, and that guy's hard as a stone out there. He's rock, man. He had no emotions from what I've seen so far. But it's I guess it's a lyric, man. You just feel it at the end of the day. To be honest with you, it's
Yeah.
just what's in the moment, you know.
No, I get it, and we're so grateful that you're allowing us to use that song because we
Yes,
think
we love it.
it's a great. I'll never forget the first time that he sent me the song. I was having a really really bad day,
Yeah.
and I just had it on repeat. It felt so good, and it was really great. So thank you, Luis. We really appreciate you, and we hope that you hang out with us still as we wrap this up. Today's episode was produced live by Raymond Andrew at Rose City Sound with your host.
Myself,
Yes.
Natalie.
Natalie and I. For inquiries, topic suggestions, and sponsorships, please email us at onthisfrequency@gmail.com.
Meow, 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 meow. Yes, On This Frequency is available where all podcasts can be streamed. Watch a live stream recording every Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Twitch at twitch.tv/On This Frequency. Watch us on YouTube and be sure to hit the subscribe button to be notified whenever we upload new episodes. And you can always support the On This Frequency team by buying us some coffee. You can send your donation at buymeacoffee.com/On This Frequency. And if you want to keep in touch with us on Instagram and on Twitter, our handle is simply at On This Frequency.
That was really smooth, Natalie. So for those of you tuning in on Twitch, stay tuned. We want to know about your value. Thank you so much for joining us.
Increase the peace. Meow, 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 meow.
Oh my
I
God.
love it, man.
Luis, how did it go? Did you enjoy this?
I enjoyed it. I mean, if I can say have me more often, I'll be on this real quick, you know.
We'll have to do a second
Don't
part.
tell me.
We want to talk more about this song.
Yes, and we want to talk more about your. Yeah. Oh yes. Sorry, it's taking a quick break. Yes, because this is a family business.
Yes.
And we've got babies
Babysitting
here.
and-
Yeah, and we got the whole 9 yards. So thank you everybody for on Twitch for sticking with us and hanging out with us. And please give us your feedback. Let us know what you think, your commentary on all of that. And Luis, I do realize that the conversation kind of went everywhere because we got into some pretty strong feminism
A little bit.
conversations.
A little bit everywhere.
And Luis has 2 daughters.
That's right. That's right.
He does.
I
So
do have to daughter. Yeah.
yes. Okay, I'm sorry. Really quick, Twitch, Vinny, we're working on a camera for Ray. We want to have a Ray cam. We're building up our budget for another camera, and then yes, we'll have a Ray cam so you can see him. I'm so glad you brought that up, Vinny. Thank you.
You know, because we're always we are like looking over there, and I do wonder, like, what do they think we're looking at?
We need a Ray cam. But Luis, back to what I was asking you. So, what kind of gifts do you give your daughters? Are you giving her gender neutral gifts?
I would say so. I think a lot of it's more artistic stuff, you know, notebooks, you know,
Yes.
pens, expos, stuff like that, drawing boards. For my eldest daughter, Valerie is big on the whole, the little cocinita, all that stuff, you know, the Barbies and all that. So I think it's honestly just a mixture of both at the end of the
50-50.
day. 50-50. There's no right or wrong right now. There's no driving the kid to think one way right now, but you know,
Yeah.
they make their own decisions as they grow older.
So let me
They
ask you
will.
this. If your daughter comes home one day with her man and I just realized how much I love hypothetical situations. Okay. She comes home with her man and he's cool. You like him. You get along, whatever. And then a couple months from now, you realize that your daughter makes way more than he does. Right? And that although he's a good man and a good person and he fits perfectly for your daughter, is her making a significant amount more money for herself going to impact any kind of influence you'll have on her? You get what I'm
Or
saying?
him.
Yeah, or
No,
him.
definitely not. I mean, it doesn't matter who makes, as long as she's happy, as long as if he's not just mooching off of her and doing nothing with his own life, then maybe, you know. But no, if she makes more money, then so be it. I mean, that's her decision at the end of the day, what she wants to do, not mine. You know. Now, if she's getting hurt and she's not happy, then that's a whole different situation, you know. But money ain't a thing, you know.
Yeah.
Love
Money ain't a
is, so
thing.
that's all it is.
That's when that physicality, that equality part that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I understand the mom might be able to do something, but the dad might be able to do something a little bit better.
No, and actually, I also I learned something today. I didn't. I don't want to say I didn't realize how much pressure men have on them, but
There's a lot of
to
pressure.
be providers,
Yeah.
to be providers that at all costs, no matter what, like you guys go into relationships and love with people with this this pressure to not and I'm not pressure, responsibility, choice
Yeah.
to be the provider. Like
Yeah.
that's
And
that's heavy.
I think like Ray mentioned earlier, you know, just how it's changing with this generation. I think we're seeing more stay-at-home dads.
Yes.
You know, how would we go? How would I don't know how our families would feel about the women allowing their husbands to be stay-at-home dads.
So let's ask the two dads that we have. If your wives made a significant amount of money and said, "Hey, you know what? Why don't you just stay home with the kids?" Would the two of you have any problem staying home?
Oh, so
Nope.
not really. And
Show me the cookbook and I'll do it all. That's all you
Right.
gotta say.
I
Right.
love that.
Yeah,
but
it's
see,
good.
but like Luis, like what you had mentioned, like it's not like, and just out of the
But
short
Sunday,
conversation we've had with Luis, it's not like Luis and myself would be mooching off of our significant other. I think
Yeah.
there
No,
would be that
definitely not.
understanding of, okay, well, if you're making the money, then I'm gonna cook, I'm gonna clean, and I'm gonna do what we got to do. Again, like I said, there's a balance, and we have to get out of the notion of thinking that everything is going to be traditional, because we don't have a traditional mindset in today's society. Our new society is it's a modern take on everything.
Yeah.
And when we want to start implementing traditional values, it almost becomes like an oxymoron, right? Because it's like, I want to be traditional, but like how do you want to be traditional? You want your husband to go to work and provide, but not a lot of women are in today's society are willing to just stay home and cook and clean and do what the women before them were doing.
Yeah.
So you can't have your cake and eat it too, in a sense. You got to understand how to adapt. You got to understand how to make the adjustments.
Yeah. And what roles you're taking on, right? Because they're no longer like the traditional gender roles now. Like you're saying, it's, hey, you're gonna stay home. Okay, well then you're doing the cooking, you're doing the cleaning, you're gonna be taking the kids out wherever they need to go. And
I mean,
then
it's fair to say. So, like, insight on my relationship with my wife, and shout out Sammy Rashad. I believe she's in the chat now.
Oh yeah, she's laughing because she's encouraging that we get a Ray cam because, as Vinny mentioned earlier in the chat, he's like, "Where's the Ray cam?"
Well, we don't sacrifice quality.
And I mentioned that, Ray, that we needed a good camera because you will not bend the knee. So hey, when we get verified on this account, please, biddies.
So going back to how my wife and I kind of operate. So my wife works for the school district also, right? So her working for the school district, she has those type of hours where it's
Yeah,
within the time that my kids go to school. Well, how are my kids going to get to school?
right.
It would be an asshole move of me to say, well,
you're already out the door. Take them with you.
yeah, and it's totally
no, that'd be
opposite.
shitty.
Or just me saying, well, I got to go to work.
Already out the door. Take them with you. Yeah.
Sorry, technically. I was trying.
I was like, wait a minute. The first thing we told Luis, Luis, thank you for following directions, bro. But no, so
I don't want to get in trouble.
All my fault.
we got to write up for Ricky now.
I'm in trouble.
Pull a card.
But it's things like that where it's like you got to learn how to adapt, right? And so
Yeah.
even when I was going to barber school, like I worked full time because we couldn't afford to look for a sitter unless it was my wife's grandma or my grandma or my mom. But my mom worked for the school district. My mother-in-law works for the bank. So it's like none of our parents, the people we would actually trust, are able to sit and take care of our kids while we go to work.
Yeah.
So we've developed a system where it's like, all right, when you're at work, I'm with the kids, and when I'm at work, you're with the kids.
That's a lot of hard work.
It is, and we don't.
That's a lot.
And we don't.
Yeah.
We don't have like the communication, like the sit down and eat dinner together type. convos. So, which is why we started our podcast.
It's your bonding time.
But and it is, but we also it took years to figure that out and learn how to adjust to it. And you have to be willing to do shit like that. I think what ends up happening is we start looking at, again, men don't fucking get mad at me, but some men also have that thought process that women have of wanting to be traditional. I'm the man, I go to work. Well, if that's the case, bro, tell your wife to sit down and not go to work. But if she's doing the same thing that you're doing, then why, when you come home, you can't do what she does? If there's cooking and cleaning going on her end, but she still has a 40 plus hour a week job,
Yeah.
and you have a 40 plus, so then how does that work? How does the relationship in general, how does that work? Where is it fair? Because at some point,
Burnout.
I might be wrong, but the woman is gonna be tired of it, right?
Yeah.
I'm tired.
Yeah. And I think, and you said something, Ray, about, it takes years to figure it out, what works for you. I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because I think as these generations are coming into this dating life and getting married, and these concepts of marriage and partners and this and that, I don't know that a lot of the younger generation wants to get married because they don't want to deal with hardship or anything that takes time and is difficult. And so I think that it,
Like within a marriage, like a relationship and finances and a home and all that. That's what you're talking about?
Yeah.
And so you feel that young people don't do that because that's overwhelming and that's not...
it's too much, or like it's just too much work.
So
too much
there's another take on that though, right? Like so as a couple, it's a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
But I think for men, so men don't really see the point in getting married. I would say just due to the fact that even if we go through that entire process and we spend years and years and years putting forth trying to make something work and making sure that it's a solid piece, if it were to not happen, the risk is bigger on the man's side than it is the woman's side, in the aspect of I put everything into this relationship financially and I get nothing back.
Oh, God, I feel like a man.
You get what I'm saying?
You're relating to this whole conversation.
I'm relating to everything Ray's saying.
So
like to the T.
So I would assume that may be why men, I can't speak for women.
Yeah.
Like Luis said, we're not women, so we can't speak on a woman's behalf. But on a men's side of it, you would have to assume that that's what would be part of the thought process is at the end of everything, even if it doesn't work, the woman is going to end up financially with the bigger side of what we end up putting into it. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and obviously everything's situational. Everybody has their own, but in a general sense. And I always got to emphasize that part, because when you start speaking of things like this, when it comes to men and women, people start bringing in their own situations. And
Right.
we're not really speaking in situational perspectives. We're speaking in a general perspective.
We are. And Luis, how old are you?
I am 29.
Oh, thank God.
About to be
You're
30.
under 30. You're under 30. So Natalie is talking a lot about modernism and Ray traditional stuff. Natalie, would you agree with what Natalie is saying, that young people are more hesitant now to get into relationships because of all of those specific things that she spoke about? Are you married?
Yeah. Shit. I hope Valerie's not on there. No, I'm not.
Okay.
I am not.
So you guys, how long have you guys been together?
9 years.
Oh, is that a nervous laugh? Listen, if you're not comfortable talking
is.
about it, just say the safe word and we'll move on.
No,
Hey, but
no, I'm straight.
But
I'm
also,
all good.
Luis, in Texas, what's the legality?
I'm technically married already.
There you go. There you go. But you have two daughters, and I think you said you guys have been together for 9 years, right?
Yep.
Right. So why haven't either of you popped the question to one another?
Well, so I popped it a long time ago,
Oh,
and
before the kids or after?
after I popped it probably 4 years ago, I want to say. She's got a whole engagement ring for 4 years, and it's a me thing. It's a me thing. I think it's a whole man thing. You know, I wanted to. That's a again, it's a whole different conversation. You know, the thing that I view about getting married is it's getting closer to God. I'm a big God believer, right?
Good.
I don't think putting a ring on is going to change my relationship at the end of the day. I think I put the engagement and all that because it was more of a, hey, more for her, like, hey, I want to be with you. I'm comfortable with you. This is what I want. And I know this is what you want. So let me put a ring on it, you know?
Mm.
And then it came the whole outside noise. And then it came the whole, my inner thing. I wanted to be the man. I wanted to provide a house. I wanted to provide the money. I wanted to provide, you know, a comfortable, safe space, a mental space, all that stuff. And, you know, I'm getting there. And I'm not going to say it's not going to happen, but I also don't
So
want to
you
be
feel
thinking
you
that,
have
you know,
to
it's going to change my.
accomplish certain things? You feel you have to accomplish certain goals that you've
Yeah,
set for yourself before the wedding happens?
yeah, yeah. I want to make sure. Again, it was a me thing. At the end of the day, I have my own personal goals. I felt like if I put her in together, it was going to be like I lost myself, and
But
then I still
Luis,
had to
but
do more for her.
if this woman loves you, and if this woman had two children from you, it's not a waiting game. It's not a waiting game. What are you waiting for? Meaning, I respect and I understand 100% what you're saying. Like, you want to be able to provide a house and you want to be able to do this, that. And
No,
at the
but that's what I'm saying. It's a me thing. It's not that I don't. I know the whole waiting game. I'll just continue to say, like, I don't think me putting a ring on it is really going to define my relationship. I've been with her for 9 years. I got two kids with her. Like, if putting a ring on it and going and getting married, you know, by the state or whatever, right, or by church is really going to define my relationship at the end of the day. Do I really even want to be in it? Like, if
but
you're
hold
not
on,
happy with me and we don't get married in 60 years, then
but
are
Luis,
you really happy?
you're missing a big point to this, and I'm realizing it. Right? You're right. You're 100% right. You love this woman. This woman has. This is it. This is your woman. You don't need to put a ring on it. Marriage is a contractual agreement.
Right.
Marriage is all about finances. Marriage is all about where are we putting our money. Marriage is about we're putting both of our names on the line. That's and I feel like that's the misconception with relationships and marriages, right? You should look at, if you're a person who says I want to marry somebody, I want to get married. If you're that person that says that, what you want is a business. What you want is an investment.
Well, that's
What
what
you
it,
want is a financial outcome to
that's
something
that's what it is, and
on paper.
well, it's more so for the government
Yeah.
to be able to
Right.
get their bigger portion of what you have to provide. It
Right.
has nothing to do with your love and your compassion and everything that you put forth in your actual relationship. It's almost like so Luis, you say you believe in God, your whole faith and all that, right? So I remember when I was going to church with my wife and her family, the pastor would always say that there's a difference between religion and relationship, right? And then there's certain there's religions, but then there's like having the actual relationship with God,
With God directly.
right? And that's the same thing. So Luis looks at the concept of the marriage in the aspect of the relationship,
The direct relationship, right?
right? So
As opposed to the religion.
as opposed to the religion, so the law
Mhm.
is telling us that the marriage is a religious thing to do in a sense,
Correct.
because
Right.
then again they get their part,
They get their cut.
they get their cut.
It's it's a deep one, but you know,
I mean, at the end of the day, I
He's
think.
like,
yeah,
Well, no. I think at the end of the day, it's to each their own. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So for those who don't know, me and my wife actually got married 8 years after us being together, and my son was, I believe, 5,
when you
4
guys got married.
when we got married. Yeah, and it wasn't that. It was just we went through a lot of shit, and it was just like, you know what, let's just do it. You know,
That's just
but even
98.
at the end of the day, like my wife doesn't wear her ring, and people ask like, your wife doesn't wear her ring. Why doesn't she wear her ring?
Why doesn't she wear?
Because she doesn't want to wear her ring. Why does she need to wear the ring?
It's pretty. Is it pretty?
I think it is, but at the end of the day, why?
Yeah.
And why? And who's telling you that it has to be on a specific finger?
I don't disagree with you.
I highly doubt that God or Jesus came down to tell you that when you get married,
You need a diamond.
you need this, and
Yeah.
it needs to be on this specific hand.
Nah, pass.
Yeah.
Right. You're right. You're right. I don't disagree with any of that. With
Same.
any of that. Okay, so then Luis, you would be okay if your daughter, here I go with my hypothetical situations, right? You would be okay if your daughter, if your daughters come home with that one dude that makes way less than she makes, and they've been together for a really long time, and they have kids together. You're not gonna ask your daughter like, how come this dude hasn't popped up? Like, what's happening here? You're not gonna ask her that.
Nah. No, like I said before, her
I
life,
love
her
that.
choice. I mean, I'm gonna be there
I believe that.
and support her. I'm gonna be there, but I'm not gonna be there to mold her how I think and how I want. Like, look, at the end of the day, if I die tomorrow, she's gonna end up having to make her own decisions anyway. So, no.
And
Ooh, that's a good
and
point.
Yeah.
society would actually tell Luis's hypothetical son-in-law
That's true.
that he has no place in asking her to marry him because he doesn't make enough.
It makes money.
Right. Okay. Which is a great transition to what Cisco is saying. 10 G's towards a ring or 10 G's towards a house. That, for me, the amount of money that goes into a wedding, which is absurd. Like, it is like
It's very
the
expensive.
worst thing in the. I cannot, to this day, I can't wrap around how much people spend on weddings, especially when you know people cannot afford this specific wedding, or that,
Always.
to Cisco's point, that this 10 G's could have gone to a house.
Yeah.
You know, like we got it all fucked up.
Well,
Yeah.
well, again, the business side of it. The government doesn't want you to put that 10 G's into buying a house because now you own real estate.
You got property now.
Yeah. Now you have an asset.
Other than you paying your tax, but they could probably make more off of your marriage than they can off of your house.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay. Luis, you don't need to get married. We got your back. It's
Just
all
get the
good.
house and that's it.
Just get the house.
I'm
Yeah.
sleeping on the couch tonight. Oh, we already got the house. We got the house 2 years ago. So.
Ah,
Oh,
congratulations.
there you go.
Congratulations.
Nice. Congrats.
Yeah, bro.
See? So you are doing it right.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. I'm going. I'm
Whoa, whoa,
slowly,
whoa,
I'm
whoa,
slowly
whoa.
there.
Hold on. What do you mean he's doing it right?
Because he just said that you don't have to do the wedding. You don't have to. He's saying,
Oh.
you know what I mean? Like he had all these expectations that he wanted to do
He's
this,
doing-
that.
Yeah, he's doing it in his order.
Yeah.
You know what I thought?
You went crazy.
I did
you went,
because
you went crazy eyes right now.
I did go crazy eyes
I was like,
because
I'm sorry.
no, because he said earlier that he didn't want to get married or do any of that until he provided all these things. So I'm like, wait a minute, you already have those things? Then what is the order here?
Yo, shout out Cisco though. He said they also make money off of your divorce.
Oh my God, yes.
True. Damn it, they got us right where they want us.
That's if you get married. Well,
I'm married.
you and I, yes, we've done that. So all the single people, well, you're.
I've been married twice.
Yeah.
I've been married twice. I will never get married ever again.
Oh, never say never.
No, I would not. No, I know for a fact I would never get married. Would I have a little celebration to celebrate whatever?
Sure.
Maybe. But I would never, hell no. Your money is your money. My money is my money. We could put it together, but separate.
So
you,
to-
want, you don't want a
but
legal
equal.
contract.
Separate but equal.
So it's fair to say that the three of us are all doing it fucking wrong. And we need to just hand the show over to Luis.
Please take it down.
He's got it right.
I'm sorry.
He's got it right. He's got it right. 100%. Yeah. Cisco,
I'll tell
you'll
I'll
tell
tell
what?
Val that there's some hope. Ray said it 8 years after they got married. So hey, babe,
Hey,
you know there's hope there for you. Okay, just kidding.
hey, but you know what, Luis? I'm 36, bro. So I actually didn't get married until I was your age or a little bit younger. Oh no, your age. I was 29. I was 30 when my daughter was born. So with or without the piece of paper, there's always going to be the struggles, and you already know that. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, and we take it back to what the topic was of value, right? At the end of the day, what's the value on your relationship is going to be bigger than what the law is going to tell you it is. Right? So you stay in your relationship and you work through all the hard times and you go through all the shit that you're going to go through to make sure that it works. And it's never going to be fucking perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you do get married and legally you go through all that shit, now they're placing their value on your marriage.
Right.
And you become, and so what ends up happening is your argument isn't based on the relationship, it's based on the value monetarily.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where, so when divorces end up happening, I think that's where it goes south,
Mm-hmm.
It always does.
is because of the money. And that's all it is at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that
I mean-
isn't that the number one reason for divorce? Finances.
Mm-hmm.
That's
mean,
the
I'll-
number one reason.
yeah, and obviously, you and your wife have your guys' relationship and whatever you guys seek value in for that. That's dependent upon you guys. And no, myself or the girls or anybody in either side of your families can tell you what's right or wrong, because at the end of the day, going back to what I was telling Ricky, when you close the door behind you, the only person that's going to be in there is your significant other and your children. And that's the only thing that's going to matter at the end of the day.
And how you made them feel.
Yep.
And you and I talked about that. We were texting, remember? And I was telling you how the best nephew and the only nephew in the world that I have, DeLuca's not gonna give a shit what you or my brother provide to him financially.
Right.
That boy is gonna care about how you made him feel.
Right.
And that's going to be his judgment of how he values you.
Mm-hmm.
Which-
and how he values himself too.
And
even.
how he values himself. And before this episode, as I mentioned, my dad was here. We talked briefly about devaluers. I don't know why he brought up devaluing someone, right?
Mhm.
I do think that people in our lives can carry a large value, and then things can change, and
they dwindle down.
they do dwindle down in devaluation and carry a different value with you.
Yeah.
Right? Things
Yeah.
change, and that's okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. And not everyone's going to value you the same, and you're not going to there's nothing wrong with that
Yeah.
at all whatsoever. And I was literally just thinking about my own relationship with my dad. Because I was thinking, like, yeah, there was a time where I really, really valued you.
Yeah.
But now, okay. It's just different, and it's okay. And that might change 10 years from now. 10 years from now, that value may go up.
Yeah.
Anything.
Everything comes in seasons.
It does come in seasons, and I want to just kind of say this because it kind of all wraps up together. I remember having a conversation with you about, we were both, it was the time where I was moving out of the 4th Street house and coming here to the studio, and we were talking about what it is that we want right now. Like, what do we want right now? We want a house right now. We want to do this right now. We want to do that. But we don't necessarily want the struggle. And I remember telling you distinctly, all right, cool. You want a house right now? Or do you want to build your house later? Like, build it completely. Design your own house and build it up from scratch. Because if you want to do that, if you want to build it up,
Right.
shit's going to suck right now. It's going to be bad.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to design your own house? Or do you want the house right now that you can comfortably live in while never being en route to designing the house that you want? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like you can sacrifice and struggle a little bit right now, because in the long term, you're gonna reap a bigger reward.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's hard as fuck.
That is because you want things right now.
You do.
We're looking for instant gratification, and we work so hard, and we could just get it right now, but at the end of the day, I don't know. I don't think it's that important because those are all material things at the end of the day, right? Like how you're saying, if you want the things right now, well, yeah, sure. But those things right now, they'll be great for just this second. And 10 years from now, it's not even going to matter.
But I think metaphorically, that kind of, it goes hand in hand, because, so like how you're saying, like, do you want to build your own house, or do you want to buy something that's already ready? Now, you're going to go through the struggles
Regardless.
until you get to building the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're also, even if you buy a ready home now, you're going to have struggles that you didn't know were there because the house is already built on top of them.
That's right.
So even with instant gratification, there's issues that you're not going to see because they're masked with everything else. So you're pretty much just picking when you're going to go through the struggle.
Oh yes. But we don't think about it like that though. We don't think about it like that. Like I don't necessarily like my situation right now or where I'm at. I'm learning how to value that. I'm learning how to be like, all right, cool, accept where you're at, love where you're at, see all the highlights of where you're at,
Yeah.
and then work wisely towards your bigger picture goal.
Right.
Work wisely, work intentionally towards building that house.
Right.
But I gotta tell you though, sometimes, and I think that that's just how our story goes, right? Sometimes it just feels like you're just never gonna get there. Like that's an impossible thing. What? I'm gonna design my own house?
Yeah.
I'm gonna build my own house? What's the likelihood of that?
Yeah.
Well, how much do you want to work towards it?
Yeah. How badly
Right.
do you want it?
We all have dreams and aspirations, but how much of the actual work do you want to have to put into it?
So things change, right? So where I previous to all of this was really focused on financial gains and trying to hit that financial goal. That's not what I value anymore. I don't value that at all anymore. I don't care about I do care about the financial targets, but that's not my priority. What I
Right.
care about right now in this moment,
Right.
as a result of everything that's happened, is how I make my kids feel. That's 100. That's all I'm thinking about right now. How am I making them feel? Am I making them feel loved? Am I making them feel like I care about them? That I'm investing? That I'm thinking about them? That I'm talking to them?
Yeah.
Because for so long I wasn't, because I was working to just fucking survive,
Yeah.
and that was terrible. That wasn't good. Is what I had to do, but
Right. And
But-
you're still a good mother, and you did the best that you could.
I did.
You know?
I did. But that's why I'm saying like values change too.
Yeah.
So right now my value has a different focus, and which was a wonderful affirmation when Ray was saying, it doesn't matter what I do, who I am, or how I'm associated with. Is how do I make people feel? The most important people.
How to make and don't miss this though either. And how are you making yourself feel?
That's the most important part.
That-
Self-care.
Luis, do you have tips on self-care?
Sometimes cry in the shower. No.
I love that. That's a great
Or
answer.
on
Cry
live
in the shower.
podcast.
Or on the live podcast.
Or on the live, yeah. Meow, meow, meow.
Yes.
Honestly, I write down a lot of what I'm feeling for
Oh,
me.
yes.
At least that helps me. So I write down what I'm feeling. I go back and remind myself, okay, this is what I did. This is how I changed it. So that's how I remind myself what I'm worth and all that. And there's hiccups on the road. It's a roller coaster, right? You got to enjoy the slowly going up, and you definitely enjoy going down on the roller coaster. Well, people don't like that part in life, but
Yeah.
it's part of the enjoyment of a roller coaster.
Yeah. Enjoy the
I don't know.
process.
Hey, Luis, have you always written?
No, I started this in that same time that I went through all of that,
Through the dark phase?
through the dark phase.
Which is interesting, and I bring that up because this is actually Luis. I don't know, well, you probably can't see this or not, but the last time Luis was here, his daughter grabbed my notebook and drew all over it. And it's funny because it's the notebook that I have in front of me now. But Luis and I, our maternal grandfather, my grandfather Buenaventura, he was a writer, and he was always writing down his reflections. I've found pieces of just like random notes that he's left about what he was going through at the. Luis, do you have any of this?
No, I'm barely even knowing this about him. Like, dang, that's crazy.
That's why I
Send me
asked
some
you,
of that. Like, send me pictures. Like, oh, that's crazy.
and that's why I asked you like how long you've been writing, because I do believe that both you and I definitely got that. Even though you're just uncovering it now, I uncovered this at like 2 years old that I was a writer, right? But he was a person who documented everything, like how and I don't have a lot of things, Luis. I don't have a lot of things. I just found a couple random pieces of information, little letters that he left. But what I do always remember about my grandfather was he always had a notebook and a pen always on him. He'd have his little in his pocket protector and everything, because he was always writing things down. And I think, Luis, that is a wonderful solution to self-care, because when you can write freely and you can write without any reservation, there's freedom in that, and there's healing in that, you know? And that's a great way to get in touch with your, is it your subconsciousness? Like your inner you.
Yeah.
That's great,
Yeah.
Luis, and I agree with that. That's probably one of the best forms of self-care. Write
It's a
shit
good
out.
release.
Write shit out.
For
Damn.
sure.
Any commentary to close this out? This has been a very special Friday night. I feel very happy.
This is very great. I love
I
it.
appreciate you guys for having me. Awesome.
We appreciate you. Hopefully we can have another session.
Yes.
Hopefully I can I've met you like once or twice.
We were supposed to
Yeah,
have
once.
him live on our podcast because he just recently came down,
Yeah.
but we were in a bunch of different moves that we were trying to make. But Luis, the next time you come to California,
Yeah, I'd be happy to have you in
you got to come down
space.
here. Yes.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I know a producer that would be willing to travel.
We got time too, so let's do
This
it.
is documented. Luis can give us a tour of his Texas
Yeah.
vibes.
Yeah.
Give Ray his own camera now, damn it.
Yes, thank you. If anybody wants to Venmo us some funds because we need a
Yes.
camera,
Nah, I can't.
please.
I can't be in there. I got to be on here like Suge Knight, you know. I'm like, if you don't want to be all up in, you don't want your producer being all up in the music videos.
Right. No pressure, but you're literally the man's voice, like the male representation of all.
But you don't want to see my face. Trust me.
Vinny.
Especially if my wife is gonna be watching this. She's like, I fucking
was
see him
laughing.
every day.
No,
I see this guy every fucking day. I don't want to see him
Vinny
right
said
now.
we need a Ray cam, so we're
Yeah.
gonna get a Ray.
You know
cam.
what? Hey, here, okay. This is what we're gonna do. Okay,
Get a
What
Ray
they
cam.
want.
Vinny, we'll get a Ray cam when we get to see Vinny in person.
True, fair. I like that because I only hear about Vinny, but I don't know what Vinny looks like.
You know what? He's our next guest
Okay, I like it.
And in person,
in person.
we can't.
We
there's
have
no-
another
Is
mic
he
we can
local?
bring.
Vinny, are you a local?
He's got to be local, Vinny. He's IE.
And if he's not, the producer is willing to travel.
All right, let's do that then.
we make shit happen over here in OTF. Okay.
We really,
all day.
really do. So thank you guys, everybody in the chat
Yes.
who hung on. Thank you.
Yes, you guys are the best.
Yes, and we'll see you next Friday, right?
Next Friday, y'all have a good night. Bye.
Vénganse. Vamos a jugar hoy. Vamos a cantar hoy. Vamos a llorar hoy. Vamos a fumar hoy. Vamos a jugar hoy. Vamos a cantar hoy. Vamos a fumar hoy. Vamos a tomar hoy.